Let's be brutally honest about something first. The Waste Management Open has always been golf's wildest party. The 16th hole stadium holds over 20,000 screaming fans who treat the tournament like a Super Bowl tailgate mixed with a college football rivalry. But 2026 wasn't just loud or rowdy, it was something completely different, something darker, and what unfolded over 4 days has left permanent scars on players and exposed cracks in the PGA Tour's ability to control its own events. Thursday started with warning signs that everybody ignored. Social media clips showed fans chanting aggressively at players during backswings, not just cheering after shots, but actively trying to disrupt concentration mid-swing. One video went viral showing a group screaming directly at Rory McIlroy as he addressed his ball on the 16th tee, forcing him to step away 3 times before finally hitting. McIlroy's face in that clip said everything. This wasn't fun anymore. This was hostile. By Friday, the energy had shifted from party atmosphere to something that felt genuinely dangerous. Reports surfaced of fans throwing objects onto the fairway, not just accidentally, but deliberately trying to hit players or caddies. One caddy posted on social media about having a full beer can land near his feet on the 17th. Hole close enough that if it had hit him directly, it could have caused serious injury. Tournament officials issued warnings but took no real action. No ejections, no consequences, just empty threats that the crowd completely ignored. Then came Saturday, and everything exploded in ways nobody predicted. The 16th hole turned into absolute bedlam that made previous years look tame by comparison. As Scottie Scheffler, the world's #1, stepped onto the tee box Saturday afternoon, the noise level wasn't just loud, it was physically painful, a wall of sound so intense that players later described feeling it in their chests like a concert speaker pressed against their ribs. Scheffler tried to address his ball and couldn't. The crowd was chanting, screaming, creating chaos specifically designed to rattle him. He stepped away once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th attempt, something snapped. Video shows Scheffler turning to the crowd and making a gesture, not obscene, but clearly frustrated, a calm down motion with his hands that only made the crowd louder and more aggressive. What happened next shocked everyone watching and sent the golf world into absolute chaos. A section of fans in the upper deck started throwing things, not just cups or trash, but full beer cans, plastic bottles, even food wrappers raining down onto the green and surrounding area. Scheffler's caddy Ted Scott immediately moved to shield his player, and officials rushed onto the scene trying to restore order. But the damage was done. Scheffler was visibly shaken, his composure completely shattered, and he would go on to make double bogey on the hole after 3-putting from 15 feet. But that wasn't even the most disturbing part. What happened to Justin Thomas on the same hole 30 minutes later crossed a line golf has never seen before. As Thomas lined up his approach shot, a fan somehow got past security and ran onto the fairway, sprinting toward Thomas before being tackled by security just yards away from the player. The fan was detained and removed, but Thomas was so rattled he couldn't continue playing immediately and had to take several minutes to compose himself. The PGA Tour released a statement calling the incident unacceptable and promising increased security, but players weren't having it. Behind the scenes, reports started leaking that multiple high-profile players were discussing withdrawing from the tournament entirely, citing safety concerns and complete breakdown of crowd control. One veteran player, speaking anonymously, said, "This isn't golf anymore. This is a circus putting players in actual danger, and if the tour doesn't fix it immediately, people are going to start refusing to play here." Saturday night turned into emergency mode for tournament officials and PGA Tour brass. Conference calls were held, security protocols were reviewed, and a decision was made that nobody saw coming. Sunday's final round would feature dramatically reduced crowd capacity, with the 16th hole stadium limited to just 10,000 fans instead of the usual 20,000 plus. Additionally, alcohol sales would be cut off after 2 p.m., and any fan caught throwing objects would face immediate ejection and a lifetime ban from all PGA Tour events. The announcement sent shockwaves through the golf world and ignited a firestorm of debate. Traditionalists praised the decision, saying it was long overdue and that golf needed to protect its players. But another faction absolutely lost their minds, calling it an overreaction that would kill the fun and unique atmosphere that makes the Waste Management Open special. The divide was instant, brutal, and showed just how split the golf community had become. Sunday morning brought a completely different atmosphere to TPC Scottsdale. The reduced crowd capacity made the 16th hole feel almost subdued, and players immediately noticed the difference. Several commented that they could actually think during their shots that it felt like golf again instead of a stadium concert. But the damage to the tournament's reputation was already done and spreading like wildfire. Sponsors started asking uncomfortable questions behind closed doors. Multiple companies that had poured millions into the event were reportedly concerned about their brands being associated with the chaos and lack of control. One major sponsor was said to be reviewing their contract and considering whether to pull funding if significant changes weren't implemented for 2027. Players, meanwhile, were speaking out publicly in ways they usually avoid. Rory McIlroy gave an interview Sunday morning where he didn't hold back, saying there's a difference between passionate fans and drunk idiots who think throwing things at professionals is entertainment. He called for permanent changes to alcohol policies and suggested that some tournaments had crossed the line from fan-friendly to player-hostile. Then came the moment that truly crystallized how serious this had become. Max Homa, one of the tour's most popular players, posted a long statement on social media Sunday night after the tournament ended. In it, he described feeling genuinely unsafe at multiple points during the week, said he'd been hit by debris thrown from the crowd, and revealed that he'd seriously considered withdrawing mid-tournament but felt pressure to continue because of sponsor obligations and fan expectations. Homa's statement went nuclear across social media, generating millions of impressions and sparking even more intense debate. The fact that a beloved, fan-favorite player felt unsafe at a PGA Tour event was a PR disaster the tour couldn't spin or dismiss. This wasn't some prima donna complaining about noise. This was a legitimate safety crisis that had been building for years and finally exploded in 2026. By Monday morning, the fallout was dominating sports media coverage everywhere. ESPN dedicated multiple segments to the waste management chaos. Golf. Channel ran a special investigation into fan behavior. Major newspapers published opinion pieces debating whether golf's attempt to attract younger, rowdier fans had gone too far and destroyed what made the sport special. The PGA Tour responded with a comprehensive statement promising a full review of fan conduct policies, alcohol sales procedures, and security protocols. They announced the formation of a player safety committee that would work directly with tournament directors to establish clear boundaries and consequences. And they confirmed that multiple fans from the weekend had been banned for life from all tour events. But players weren't satisfied with statements and committees. According to reports, a group of top players, including Scheffler, McIlroy, and Thomas, demanded a private meeting with Commissioner Jay Monahan to discuss their concerns directly and push for immediate, concrete changes rather than vague promises. The meeting was described as tense but productive, with players making it clear that another incident like Waste Management 2026 would result in players refusing to participate in certain events. Woods made sure no one could ever say, "Just Tiger's kid" again. Coming into the tournament ranked 604th, Charlie wasn't even listed on the radar of most junior golf analysts. He wasn't the favorite, he wasn't the headline, he was just another name on the tee sheet. 3 days later, his name was the only one anyone was still talking about, because what he did in that tournament didn't whisper potential, it screamed proof. The numbers alone were staggering, a 15 under par total, including a closing round 66 that featured 8 birdies. But it wasn't the scorecard that stunned the golf world, it was who he beat and how he beat them. The field included 4 of the top 5 junior golfers in the country, including Miles Russell, the undisputed number 1. Charlie didn't edge him out. He didn't survive the pressure. He crushed the field, finishing 3 strokes ahead in one of the most competitive junior events of the year. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't magic. It was a methodical dismantling. ESPN and Golf Digest quickly picked up the story, but even their headlines couldn't fully capture the shift. Because this wasn't just a breakout performance, it was a reintroduction. For the first time, fans, coaches, and even fellow players began to refer to him not as Tiger's son, but as a serious standalone title contender. And for the top juniors who had grown used to hearing the name Woods with nostalgia, it suddenly became a real-time threat. The legacy had returned, but this time it had its own swing, its own stride, its own story. There's a difference between playing well and playing with presence. Charlie had both. He didn't ride momentum, he created it. He didn't hope for mistakes, he forced them. Every hole was a statement, every birdie was a message. He was no longer waiting for his name to be called, he was taking it. And as the dust settled at Streamsong, one thing was clear. Junior golf had a new reality, and his name was Charlie Woods. This wasn't the coach. This was the father. He didn't arrive with fanfare. There was no press conference, no entourage, just a man in a cart, sunglasses on, sitting quietly near the ropes at Ballinisles Country Club. But make no mistake, when Tiger Woods showed up to the Florida Amateur Championship, the energy shifted. Fans whispered, cameras crept closer. But Tiger wasn't there for the spotlight. He was there for something more personal, for something even more powerful. He was there to watch his son stand alone, and he couldn't look away. Observers noted something unusual about Tiger's body language that weekend. He wasn't analyzing swings or making calls from a practice green. He wasn't scribbling notes or offering advice. He sat still, leaned forward slightly, elbows on his knees. Every shot Charlie took, Tiger followed, not with a coach's critical eye, but with a father's quiet reverence, because what he was seeing wasn't technical, it was transformational. According to Golf Monthly, Tiger's appearance was completely unexpected. He hadn't been seen publicly in weeks, still recovering from a torn Achilles that had kept him off the course. And yet, here he was, not limping down fairways, but showing up when it mattered most. His presence wasn't promotional, it was paternal. As Sportskeeda put it, Tiger watched with pride, awe, and emotion. And when the cameras caught that rare smile, you didn't see a champion. You saw a dad. Those who were close enough swore they saw him wipe his eyes. Maybe it was sweat, maybe it was sun, or maybe it was something else. When asked by a reporter after the round what he thought of Charlie's performance, Tiger kept it simple. Proud doesn't even begin to cover it. There were no long quotes, no public speeches. He let the moment speak for itself, and maybe that silence said more than any press statement ever could. This wasn't Tiger Woods scouting future greatness. This was Tiger Woods watching his own legacy unfold from the outside in. No swing thoughts, no media spin, just a front row seat to a performance that proved his son no longer needed to borrow his spotlight. Because that day, Tiger didn't cast the shadow. He stood in it, chase, and smiled. It wasn't just a golf shot, it was a generational exhale. It came late in the round, not with fireworks, not with drama, but with something quieter, something final. Charlie Woods stood over a slippery birdie putt on the 18th green. The Florida sun was falling low, casting long shadows over Ballinisles. The gallery leaned in. Charlie didn't blink. He read the line, took one smooth stroke, and dropped the putt center cup. No fist pump, no roar, just a walk to the hole, a nod to the crowd, and a tap to the brim of his cap. But somewhere outside the ropes, something else was happening, because the person holding back the most emotion wasn't Charlie, it was Tiger. In that instant, a cameraman caught the shot that would go viral within hours. Tiger Woods, seated near the green, biting the inside of his cheek, visibly misty-eyed, his sunglasses were off, his head slightly tilted. This wasn't a man reacting to a score. It was a father watching a door open, one he'd once kicked down himself. You could feel it. This wasn't just pride, it was release, relief, maybe even redemption. Tiger's entire life has been built on control. Control of swing, of body, of media, of image. But in that moment, there was no control. There was only emotion. As the gallery clapped and Charlie walked off the green, Tiger stood, just for a